Don't fall. Just hanging out till we get some viewers because I do this impromptu and never give a heads up. So wait just a bit. It's probably not a good time to be doing this. Then again, when is a good time? All right. Let me know if you guys can hear me all right. Got the window unit on right over there. And man, without it, it's just unbearable. But hopefully, I'm still audible. Nothing important. Just thought I'd say hey and show my face. And got these new things on. I don't know if I like them or not. I really only need them for close-up stuff, reading, and close-up stuff. But otherwise, yeah, I'm still getting used to them. I got the what they call progressive lenses, which is a fancy way of saying there's no line and you're going to pay a lot more. And they told me I get used to them, but it was I'm still getting used to them. The lenses themselves. I told them I wanted to try bifocals. They're like, well, it's going to take 2 weeks. I'm like, 2 weeks, fine, whatever. I'm not liking these. I think when they called me to tell me the bifocals had come in, those are the ones with the actual line. I think I put those on for 15 seconds, and I was like, no, I'm going back to the progressive. So this is what I'm stuck with. But they seem to be working okay. And there's the mother right on time while I live stream. So I tried to call her before I started this. So what's going on? Not a whole lot. I guess health-wise, I'm doing all right. Job-wise, still at the library. Going on this December, it'll be 8 years that I've been there, and the stories just keep building. Just complete nonsense in that place, complete lunacy in there. That's another story for another time. But if you'll remember, it was this time about a year ago that I invested in the scooter, the Vespa Sezioni 300, brand new off the lot, 2022 model. That was a year ago. And the scared, timid me that rode it out of the showroom is not quite the same person that you're looking at now. I still respect the thing and understand that I could die at any moment, but I'm actually able to enjoy the thing. It's got 1,784 miles on it. I don't know if that's a lot or a little. I don't ride it every day, but I average maybe here lately like 3 to 4 days a week. I ride it to and from work. And you guys help me on this. Knock on all the wood you can find. I've yet to have a wreck. Now I understand it'll happen. Anybody that owns one of these is guaranteed to wreck at some point. You just hope it's not bad. But I haven't had any incidents yet, and I'd like to attribute that to I've never ridden it if I know I'm going to be drinking. I try not to ever speed or do anything retarded. I stay off the highways, and I try not to ride at night. And if I'm not familiar with the roads, because you have to understand the roads here in New Orleans are absolutely atrocious. Road is even too nice of a word for what these things are down here that we drive on. So there's potholes and things everywhere. But if I don't know the road I'm on, I don't take the scooter on it. If there's somewhere I need to go, and I think maybe I'd like to take the scooter, I'll drive down the road with the car first. That seems like maybe a little extreme, but that's what I do to make sure I don't wreck and die. So I've had that for about a year now, and to be honest with you, I haven't even had any issues with it. I've done the service for it. It did have one minor issue where it was after I started it, it would die. Now I don't know why that is. I don't even know if they know why it was. I try to put certain gas in it, no ethanol, etc. And I did have to put regular gas in it. Now maybe that had something to do with it. I don't know. That was the only issue. I took it in and they did something to it. I don't know what. Or they said they did something. Anyway, that issue resolved itself more or less. So I haven't had any problems with it. It's been a great little investment, and I'd like to say I've saved money on gas, but then, I'm paying what extra in insurance for that thing every month. So there's that. Overall, is it worth it? Do I recommend it? Yeah, it's pricey. But if you get, don't just get a scooter to get a scooter. I would recommend getting a Vespa, because those things, resale value wise, the name is what you're investing in. And when you're done with it or whatever, if the thing's still in halfway decent shape, the name alone will fetch a lot more resale value wise than just a random wannabe Vespa scooter. So there's that. Anything else? I wanted to, and I should announce these beforehand. I understand that, but I never do. I wanted to answer any questions that you guys might have, and that could be, again, game related, non-game related, whatever. So feel free to drop me a question in the chat box. Meanwhile, regarding gaming, not that I care personally, but Mr. President is finally released. And for those of you that were waiting, I think that's been going to be released for years. I lost count how many years. My dear brother had that on pre-order, and it finally shipped. I think he said he felt, now you have to understand, he's a full-blown PC gamer. He hasn't done any war game, board game stuff since probably early 90s, if that. So he felt a little intimidated hopping into that thing, and I don't blame him. That thing's a beast. I've seen pictures of it. I've watched a few videos. But he said he opened it up yesterday, and it's just too much. And I understand that the amount of space required to set that thing up is just so much. So I think what he did is Tabletop Simulator. He found it on there and drug out all the manuals for that and ran through about, I believe he said, a quarter of it, and said it was just, he was drained. And sitting there learning the thing and running through the manuals and running the thing, and I can understand how that can be draining, but I don't know if he'll go back to it. But he gave it an honest shot, and he spent most of yesterday doing that. So yeah, Mr. President, I don't know if any of the other guys out there have been delving into that or not. I think it's currently number 2 hotness wise on Board Game Geek. I don't know how they determine that either. I think that's I don't know. Let's check and see. Board Game Geek. I don't even see hotness listed. The hotness. Mr. President, yeah, it's still number 2. It was number 1 for a while, and it's been beaten out by, let me guess, some weird, yeah, of course, Barcelona. I'm going to hurt people's feelings. Which looks like yet another random family fun theme night, game night, youth church group game, which is fine, just not my thing. Has beat it out for the number 1 spot. I mean, these are a dime a dozen. I'm sorry, guys, but these family Euro games are just, I don't know when our fascination with them the novelty is ever going to cease with these things. It just seems like there's no end to these things being pumped out. And the themes are almost laughable sometimes. Well, actually, most of the time. Anyway, I'll shut up about that. I'm just being negative. So that was Mr. President. What else? We've already talked about the thing behind me set up here. That's last video. I just posted that a little while ago. A lot of work to be done on that. That's a broken game that I'm trying to make playable. Why? I don't know, because I have no sense, I guess. I like the idea of being able to do the strategic married to the tactical. In this game, I think, from what I've seen, what I've read, and the PC version does very well. So we'll see if I can make it go with that. That's the previous video. Anything else? Yes, I have the ASL Journal 13 and 14 on order. I would have thought I would have received those by now. I try and keep up as much as possible with the core MMP ASL product releases. Not everything, but about 90% of it. Those were two things I'd been dragging my feet on. And the two places that I would recommend ordering from, no offense MMP, but if you want it affordable, you want to go to Ritter Krieg or Gamers Armory. And I chose Gamers Armory because I think I actually found it a little bit cheaper than Ritter Krieg. And I hate when companies do this, but they didn't list it as being out of stock. It drives me crazy. If you have something that's out of stock, please put that it's out of stock, because I'm not going to order it, because I don't want to wait for you guys to decide when you're going to get it in stock. Meanwhile, I'm in limbo. As if this is all I've had to complain, life's pretty good, I understand. But I mean, list something that's out of stock if it's out of stock. So I'm still waiting because it was out of stock, and they didn't list that. And I don't have the heart to say, well, just cancel my order so I can order it from somewhere that has it in stock. So I'll be patient. I don't need it today. I don't even necessarily need it next week or the next month. But it just drives me nuts, you know, when stuff like that happens. So I have those on order. The only other thing on my radar, let's check our, and you can do this too. You can go to Board Game Geek and check my profile. For those of you savvy enough to know my name or know who I am on here, I'm not on here as often as I once was, but you can look at my profile and it'll show you games that I own, games that I used to own. Now, I had that big blowout selling off of stock, and I liquidated about half of my games, but that paid for the bike and more, if you can believe it. And I'm not exaggerating. That paid for that scooter out there and more, half of the games. So now I'm down to, according to this, about 262 games. And I always keep track of what I get rid of. So my previously owned games are now also at about 263. And I only have about 10 things on my wish list, and it's all ASL stuff mostly. And it's things, again, that, you know, like ASL Action Pack 1 and 2. Do I need those? No. But if you're going to be a completist, yes. The Blood Reef Tarawa and Operation Veritable, believe it or not, I found bootleg versions of those, PDF versions, online and printed off everything. So I have everything in 8.5 by 11 maps, all that stuff that counters. So technically I have it, but I don't really have it. And there's a couple of other things. Sword and Fire Manila, it's attainable. It's not out of print, but it doesn't really interest me. Yet again, if I want to be a completist, I guess I need that, so that's on there. The only other thing that's not ASL that's on here is Commands and Colors Napoleonics Expansion 7, Le Grand Battles. Been playing this Commands and Colors stuff off and on for years. This is the huge, gigantic. I didn't know they could go any bigger or would need or want to go any bigger than Epic Napoleonics, but I guess the sky's the limit. And yeah, this is way bigger with the 26 hexes wide and 11 hexes deep. And they recommend teams to play this. I don't know that this is something you would want to play by yourself, but it's going to have scenarios in here that are other sizes as well, not just Le Grand Battle size. And then you get the hyped up leader, it says Leaders of Honor blocks and labels, which will be a mix of leader images for all armies. So actually, I don't have that on pre-order, but it's on my radar. And as soon as it becomes available through, another site actually that's good for ordering stuff like this is Miniature Market, I believe. But they'll run out of stock quickly because that's not a big secret anymore, that Miniature Marketplace. It's very affordable, so may order it from there. Victory and Glory setup. Hey, Dungeon Brush Babbles, what's up? Yes, that is the Victory and Glory setup. Again, the previous video explains what's going on with this at length. Essentially, the game is broken. I'm trying to make it playable. not out of anger or spite, but because I'm up to the challenge. I love the PC game, what I've seen of it. In fact, I've watched many, I don't know if I'd say hours, but quite a few minutes worth of the PC game being played and liked what I'd seen. And this goes back a few years. I drug this out last night, and I probably shouldn't even be rehashing. This is all on the previous video. But I drug this out last night, gave it another go, failed again, and thought, well, let's see what's up with the PC game. And I actually bought that for $7. So ran through a little bit of that last night, and I'm going to draw from the PC game what I need information wise here and make this work. So that's what's going on there. At least I say that's what I'm going to do. We'll see what happens. As far as the Callistra hexes and having those set up on here, and the little, all these are the epic Napoleonic stuff, all that set up. I haven't messed with that in a while, and I still like it, but I mean, there's other things out there, and sometimes you just have to force yourself to do other things. I don't know if it's particularly healthy to do the same thing over and over and over. And sometimes you can get stuck in a rut either and not be aware of it. You guys have been, if that has been the case, you guys are fairly considerate and nice about it, because I know I've run this stuff into the ground at length, and you've been very patient. But hope springs eternal, and lo and behold, looky here, we got something different going on. So there you go. Yeah, previous video, polish a turd, thank you, sir. We'll see what happens. Then you'll see this stuff over here, pointer finger, the hockey stuff. We're off season right now. Just briefly, what has happened St. Louis Blues wise? Can't think of anything earth shattering. We acquired Malcolm Subban, who is PK Subban's brother. He's a goalie. I don't understand why we got him, but whatever. I'm hoping he's trade bait and he won't stay long. I'm not a fan of that dude. A couple other guys. Hayes, we got Hayes from Philadelphia, which was cool. Actually would have cost us a lot more to get him had the initial trade setup gone through, but Torrey Krug waived his didn't waive, but called out his no trade clause and messed that up. But it ended up being cool anyway, because we basically got Hayes for nothing after that. So I'm hoping we got a whole bunch of prospects in the draft, and I'm hoping we use a lot of those prospects for trade stuff moving forward. Not too long to go. I think end of September we get some preseason games, and then October we're right back into the hockey stuff. So I bring that up because it's the only sport I care about, the only sport I enjoy watching. You can sit me down and make me watch something else, and I'll act like I like it, but I really don't. I don't know if I've mentioned this, but been watching Ted Lasso. So again, I say I don't like other sports, but again, for those that are unfamiliar, it's not just about soccer, or as they say, across the pond, football. If you've been holding out or hadn't tried it yet, do yourself a favor, watch Ted Lasso. It's brilliant. The lines that this guy can spout out are genius. He's full of just quick, dry wit one-liners, and the guy is awesome. Ted Lasso, check that out if you haven't checked it out. I'm here for questions. There's people watching. What do we got? Any questions? Anybody ask me anything? It's your chance. Shoot your shot. I'm putting myself out here. Don't hold back. We're live. No? Okay. At the prompt of please ask questions, we lost viewers. All right. I guess it scared everybody off. They just want to listen to me talk, I guess, huh? Is that what it is? I don't know what else, guys. I mean, I just had the urge to get on here. This was the 1-year anniversary of the Vespa. And still loving that. Still feel like free as a bird as I'm riding that thing around. And no plans for 4th of July. I plan to avoid everything 4th of July related because I'm old, fuddy-duddy, stick in the mud old man. And It's just amateur day anyway. People that don't normally drink or know how to drink are going to be drinking, and they just end up being annoying idiots. So I try and avoid all that stuff. Movies. I like the movies. Let's talk movies. We got movies coming. We got the new Wes Anderson movie. Big Wes Anderson fan, not fanatical. But Asteroid City is his newest one. I even looked up times for when that's playing. Thought I might go today, but I haven't done it. Yet to go see that. Oppenheimer, the new Oppenheimer movie looks good. Who am I talking about? The guy that J. Robert Oppenheimer's journey from an ambitious scientist to a man tormented by the central role he played in the development of the atomic bomb. There's a movie about that, which interests me. So maybe that. And then a little further down the road is the second installment of the Dune franchise. That first movie was phenomenal, and I am not exaggerating. That movie was awesome, the first Dune. So I can't imagine the second one being any less awesome, and probably will be even more awesome. So there's that coming out. When is that coming out? Part 2? October 22nd. No, that's incorrect, sir. Dune 2 is coming November 3rd. November is going to be great for movies. Here's why. You've got Dune coming November 3rd. And this movie's been in the works for a few years. I think they started on it pre-COVID and then got interrupted, but he was able to finish it. This is Ridley Scott's Napoleon. I've talked about off and on this channel. They've had some cast swap out, replaced. But this will be a November release as well. Now it says distributed by Apple TV Plus, Sony Pictures, but it'll get a big theatrical release as well. And it says a runtime of 158 minutes. Fine with me. Perfectly fine with me. And I think there are no less than 6 battle sequences represented in this movie. For those of you that don't know, Joaquin Phoenix is going to be playing Napoleon, and the dude looks, not that I've ever seen the man, but based on representations of the man, the guy looks, I buy it. He looks like Napoleon. Any other additional information regarding that? No. There's also another HBO Napoleon thing being made by Spielberg. I have virtually no information on that or where that status of that. I think it's Spielberg. Let me verify as we speak. Yep. So this is from February. And it states Steven Spielberg mounting a big production for Stanley Kubrick's Napoleon. Project is set as a 7-part limited series for HBO, so be ready for that at some point. And it's interesting that they linked this to Kubrick because he was going to do a big blowout Napoleon movie, and for various reasons he didn't. I think one of the reasons was Bondarchuk. Was it the Waterloo movie? Who did the Waterloo movie? Or War and Peace or something. It was one of those movies. I think it was Waterloo, actually. Had just come out, so Kubrick's financiers, if you will, producers or whatever, I think they were worried about how well it would do, how much Napoleon does the average movie-going audience have in them. They just released the Waterloo one. Something along those lines, and he kind of decided, well, maybe now's not the time to do it. And, well, the guy died, and he never ended up doing it. But he has, and there's a book on this. Again, I've talked about this at length. He has a book you can get from Amazon about, or I should say there is a book about Kubrick's initial efforts to make the Napoleon movie. And for those of you that aren't familiar, at least with, I don't know if with all of them, but I know for a fact with The Shining and probably other movies, the way he would do a movie is he would gather as much information as he could about things related to the movie he was going to do. And with Napoleon, he had a complete catalog, like a card catalog thing, like one of those with the drawers you pull out from a library, right? A complete whole card catalog full where you pull the drawer out and index cards of information about Napoleon, like anything you wanted to know about Napoleon, what he had said or done on a particular day. He could pull out an index card and reference that, and all that stuff still exists. Obviously, it just never got used. And there's a book that was published regarding the initial efforts that went into what was going to be his movie that never got made. So I guess, this is my guess, Spielberg gained access to that stuff, or to an extent, if you will, and is going to be carrying the torch for Kubrick's unrealized attempt to make a Napoleon movie. So, all right, what else? Dungeon's still hanging with us? No, he left. All right, Dungeon, I can relate. I haven't been able to record a video recently due to insane city fireworks every night. Heard a little fireworks last night, not too bad. Downtown here in New Orleans, most of the fireworks you usually hear are gunshots, and so that's something. Expect there'll be some fireworks of the legal variety tonight and tomorrow night, probably the rest of the week. So I have that to look forward. And the cat just loves that stuff. She'll be hiding under the bed, I guess. So anything else? I'll ask you again. You guys got anything else? This can only be as interesting or engaging as you guys want it to be. Again, I understand I should announce these things ahead of time. And the times I pop on are probably inconvenient. Everybody's just getting home from work now. But it's just a way for us to hang out and chew the fat. So got this guy here we're going to use to write down all the information for this stuff here. So each of those armies on that map board have information regarding troop types that I need to write down. I don't know how else to do that and know what each army consists of. So I've got my work cut out for me there. And so yeah, anybody that has tried Mr. President or has any experience with it, let us know what you think. As I already mentioned, Brother delved into that a little bit. That's not something I'll be getting. That subject matter, no offense to those who enjoy that, but I have no interest in that whatsoever. But I can understand where others would find it interesting. Let's check one other thing. Let's check this. Checking the MMP site very quickly. Looks like we've got a few pre-orders of Crimea from the gamers. I don't care about that. Armies of Oblivion, which is great for those who don't want to have to pay out of print prices, but I already have it. Valley of Tears, a battle that does interest me, but not something I feel the need to game. Anything else? I think there's going to be an ASL starter kit hassle. If I can get there without, how do you negotiate your website? This is the Marco Polo Bridge, I think, hassle, Chinese versus Japanese. That's cool because you don't often have those two nationalities fighting each other in games. I think, was it like 1939? Is that what we're talking about? 37. Wow, so that's really early. I also heard rumors of Spanish Revolution ASL stuff. That would be circa 1936. So we're only, if you can go as early as 37, you can definitely do 36. I don't think we have any bona fide MMP Spanish Revolution ASL stuff that I'm aware of. So I think that's on the back burner or the front burner as well, whatever you want to call it. Anything else? Because I'm running out of things. What are you guys playing? You guys play anymore? Is it just me? I know one thing that drives me batty is all these so many channels of dudes painting, and I understand the appeal for them to paint, but I always wonder. It's curious that I never see them play anything that they painted, and it's like before they even finish what they're painting new things. What happened to things you were painting? I guess I have no room to talk. I don't finish games, but I'm not even sure what brought that to my attention. Oh yeah, what are you guys playing? What are you guys doing? Painting, playing, nothing? Life, family? There we go. We have a winner. Von Holdinghausen says, reading rules, prelude to revolution. How you been, Von Holdinghausen? While I look up prelude to revolution. You mentioned this before, sir? What is that? Prelude, is this Russia's descent into anarchy, 1905? Is that what Compass Games? I feel like you've mentioned this before. Somebody has. Why does this ring of familiarity? I don't have it. But here's what Von Holdinghausen is playing. Prelude to Revolution lets the players experience the drama and chaos of the years leading up to the Russian revolutions in February and October of 1917. The closest I came to playing something that delves into the Russian Revolution was that damn first edition Triumph of Chaos. I got it all set up and had no idea what I was doing. I was completely lost. And there's a hilarious, completely fall out of your chair, hilarious video of Colin Dale, his YouTube channel. Trying to play this game, and his frustration echoes mine. So here you go. When you get a chance, I think it's Triumph of Chaos Profane Intro. Watch this gentleman try and play this game and understand what's going on, and he doesn't hold back, man. It's awesome. But by way of that, that's the only real experience I've had with the Russian Revolution. Prelude to Revolution is a two-player card-driven game that allows players to take the role of revolutionary or government and attempt to address the urgent and competing social, political, and military issues of the time. Play proceeds through historical eras, the years of turmoil consisting of 1905 to 1913, the Great War, 1914 to 1916, and the collapse, or you could say the beginning, 1917. This game builds upon and expands the outstanding system introduced in Prelude to Rebellion, another Compass game release. This is a very interesting time, and I'm curious how this game deals with, wow, it's pretty to look at, I'll say that, with its little red and blue glassy ice cube looking pieces. And it looks a lot more organized and concise than Triumph of Chaos. I applaud Doktorov, is that his name? Doktorov? Who did Triumph of Chaos. Let's go back to let's go back to Board Game Geek. Who, for the love of God, this guy, David Doctor. Why did I say Doktorov? David Doctor, right? I applaud his effort. But I think he, like me, got lost in the design or something. And this guy, if you can go back, they should still be up. Guns, Dice, and Butter was one of my favorite, probably the favorite wargame podcast back in the day. He stopped doing it a long time ago, but those episodes are sheer gold. Guns, Dice, Butter. If you are unfamiliar with that, now it's going to be a little dated because, again, he hasn't had an episode up since 2020. But they're great. They're just really good. He's very down to earth. He obviously knows the subject matter. He's not doing this just to do a podcast. or because he's bored. You can really get a sense of the passion and knowledge that this guy has. They're great podcasts. In fact, this channel started as a podcast, and that this was part of my inspiration. I got tired of waiting for his next episode, and I'll always remember this. I thought my nephew inspired me. I thought, well, I'll do my own podcast, but I'm like, how do you do it? I don't know anything about it. And my nephew was doing something for his college class, and I watched and saw how completely easy and idiot-proof it was. I thought, okay, I can do a podcast, and that's how this channel started. So there you go. More folks, thank you guys. Ruben James, just learning ASL, not much time for anything else in the gaming arena. Now, are you running? And I love this Social Distortion logo, by the way. Seen those guys, Mike Ness twice, at least once, as Mike Ness doing his country thing, and Social Distortion proper once back in Columbia, Missouri. So you're jumping. So you say you're learning ASL. You obviously you don't feel obligated to give any more information than you wish to, but you're jumping right into ASL, or are you doing the ASL starter kit stuff? Just curious, because you might be able to make it easier on yourself if you go the ASL starter kit route and then graduate to ASL, because there is, I don't know, to be honest, maybe you're perfectly capable of grinding and chewing all that information, but if it seems like it's getting a little overburdening, definitely try out that ASL starter kit stuff. There's no shame in it. In fact, I still play ASL starter kit stuff. It's just easier. Von Holdinghausen vacation 4 weeks. Good Lord. 4 weeks. I tip my hat to you, sir. Triumph, second edition of that game seems nice. Got it. You talking about Triumph of Chaos? Yeah, it is Russian Civil War. Second edition of that game is supposed to be better, easier. So yes, I should clarify for the sake of our beloved David Doctor. There are 2 editions, and I think he heard the people's aches and pains and knew he had to do something. It was his baby. He wants people to play it and enjoy it. So he did finally come out with a second edition. Now, I don't know how improved it is because I haven't looked at it, but I assume if you want to go that route, get the second edition, not the first edition. Why? Because go back and watch Collindale's video on why. It's just hilarious. Watching that man try and play that game, one of my favorite videos of all time, at least the first 10 minutes. Played starter kit for a year or so. It's been very helpful moving to the big orange Bible. Yeah, right? The scripture. So another thing with ASL that I just, everybody has their own personal line they draw for to what extent is something enjoyable and to what extent is it just too much. And when it comes to ASL, the big blowout historical modules are, like for instance, Blood Reef Terroir. As much as I want to think that I could get that and set it up, it's too much game. It's too much. I couldn't do it. I wouldn't have fun. And when it comes to armor, it's too much for me to keep track of. And maybe my small reptilian brain is just different than everybody else's, but it just stops becoming fun for me. It becomes too much to keep track of. That's when I feel like this should be a computer game. There's too much going on. So I try to stick mostly, and it's somewhat limiting in what scenarios you can play, right? But if I get the ASL itch, I usually try to scratch it with infantry-only stuff. Oh, you got somebody to play with, too, so there you go. I mean, there's Vassal, Tabletop Simulator, but I have nobody, and I'm not using this as an excuse, but I don't have anybody that I ever play anything with. I usually do this stuff on my own, and to be honest with you, even if I did have somebody to play with, I think I would prefer not doing that, which, I don't know, call it antisocial if you want, but to be honest with you, I think my attention span isn't what it used to be, and I am a very weird gamer. If you could put a live camera up in this room for a 24-hour period, here's what you would see. You would see me walk by this table, stop, look at it for 30 seconds, and then walk on. Did I play anything technically? No, but I'm thinking about something. I'm tweaking something, I'm considering something, I'm running a scenario through my mind of how something would work. If I come to this table an hour later, maybe I'll spend 15 minutes working on something, or I'll hop from 15 different things and intermittently come back to what the game at hand. I'm completely nuts when it comes to gaming. I don't think anybody would be able to sit down or get me to sit down and sit through a game and play it. It's very rare that I can sit, and the videos are probably a testament to that. If you see a video of something I played through for about an hour, that's it. That's what I've done. There isn't something that I did earlier that day for 4 hours. I mean, that video is probably all I will have done for two or 3 days. So yeah, I don't know that anybody would enjoy sitting down and playing a game with me. Ruben says he does play on Vassal. What's your favorite Social Distortion album, Ruben? Is it, I'll tell you mine, White Light, White Heat. White Trash, White Light, White Heat. White Light, White Heat. Social Distortion. Yeah, White Trash. White Light, White Heat, White Trash. There's great songs on all of his albums, but this particular album, I think, is his most polished, most accomplished album. I do believe he's got another album in him. It's going to be his, the guy has to realize he's not going to live forever, so I'm sure he wants to leave what he considers his legacy album. I don't think any of his previous albums he will consider his legacy album. I could be wrong. So, how long have I been ranting now? 41 minutes. 41 minutes. Let me see if I can think of anything. I noticed a lot of response videos. I don't know if I should say these days. It's probably always been a thing, and I've just noticed it, or there's been more of a surgence of it. But it seems like the community really gets up in arms about things very easily. If somebody outside the community says something, everybody has to do a video about it. It's curious to me because usually it's a thing that is irritating, and everybody wants to counter the irritating thing and defend whatever's being attacked or whatever. I think the best way to respond to that stuff is not to respond. I know it's so tempting. It's so easy, the age and era we live in, to post a video or a comment. There's virtually no repercussions for saying anything. I guess you could argue there is. But it's such an easy, quick, accessible format now, number of formats to voice an opinion and then just skirt off into the wind scot-free, having said what you said. But so I feel like just ignoring somebody is the best response. I'm all over the map here. I understand that. Oh, you used the Social D. Yeah, it was inevitable. Album and Hard Times and Nursery Rhymes. Hard Times and Nursery Rhymes. Is that the one with Reach for the Sky? That's one of my... No, that's not it. What's the social... Now we're on a Social Distortion kick. Let's completely niche this conversation, but so that only two people enjoy it. What's the damn discography? He'll probably... Discography, Sex, Love, and Rock and Roll. Thank you. Has... Yep, Reach for the Sky. I love that song. Here's why. I'm not going to play it for you, but... Jesus. Apparently Firehouse has a song called Reach for the Sky. I'm like, what the hell? So here's why I like it. The lyrics go, when I was young, I was invincible. I find myself not thinking twice. I never thought about no future. It's just a roll of the dice. But the day may come when you got something to lose. And this when you think you're done paying dues, you say to yourself, dear God, what have I done? And hope it's not too late because tomorrow may never come. Reach for the sky because tomorrow may never come, blah, blah, blah. Yesterday is history and tomorrow's a mystery. But baby, right now it's just about you and me. You can run, you can hide, just like Bonnie and Clyde. Reach for the sky, you're never going to die. And I thank the Lord for the love that I have found, and hold tight because tomorrow may never come. And then you go through the chorus, reach for the sky because tomorrow may never come, twice, and then back to the verse. So if you please take this moment, try if you can to make it last. Don't think about no future and just forget about the past and make it last. Reach for the sky because tomorrow may never come. Yeah, it's a great song. And that's typical Mike Ness social distortion stuff there. That's not anything atypical or anomalous. So Ruben, we've hijacked the conversation. Y'all are otherwise everyone else is free to hop in and change the direction of this. We're just riffing here. Two playthrough videos featuring Mark Herman and someone else drinking beer and playing the second edition. Second edition of Triumph of Chaos. I do play on Vassal. That is a great one. Yeah. The lack of heat here in the South. In fact, it's been so hot. How hot has it been, Jason? It's been so hot. The library where I work at is an older building from the 50s, as is most of the HVAC stuff. So if you can imagine that air conditioning has a hard time keeping up, and the engineers have to be there for it to run. So here's a very interesting fact about HVAC and where I work. But wait, there's more. If you're not there to run it, if somebody's not there, they can't run it. So the building's getting hot, right? So on days that we're closed, so say for instance Sunday, nobody's there. Come back Monday morning, it's hot as hell. No lie, it's super hot, and it takes forever for the building. It's a huge building, like 3 floors, 2 basements. It takes forever for it to cool down. So, being as we were closed yesterday, and we'll be closed Tuesday, such that nobody will be there to run the air conditioning. You have to consider that today and Wednesday are going to be probably about 85 in there. So they decided just to shut the building down today. Tomorrow's a holiday, of course, and tomorrow. Other branches are open, but we had the option of going to another branch or using annual leave, which there's an argument there. It's like if it's not our fault that the building's closed, why should we have to use our annual? But if there's another branch to go to, then that's what you're supposed to do rather than use civil leave. So annual or another branch. I chose annual, but hey, that gives me a hell of a weekend. So yeah, the temperature in that building has been hovering right around 81, which may not sound like a lot, but it feels like about 90 in there. And then there's hot spots. So like there's another spot that I have to go to and work at on the first floor a number of times each day for about an hour at a time. And I finally got the, hey Al, how you doing, buddy? Let me come back to that comment, Al. That's spot on though. Yeah, so 85 degrees, man, and we had one little temperature gauge by the circulation desk where it was 81, but I thought there's no way it's 81 over here. So I moved our little temperature gauge to the new spot, the other spot, and lo and behold, yeah, it's like 85, 84, 86. Oh, it must be, I guess it's hot. Yes, it's hot. I told my boss, I'm like, it's hot over here. Go get a fan. I'm like, okay, but it's hot over here. And I guess once they finally saw the temperature thing, then they're okay, yeah, it's hot. Whatever. Al has joined us. We appreciate that, Al, taking time out of your day to join this useless conversation. Beautiful map, but useless for the game of Napoleon. Useless for the game of Victory and Glory. It is useless. I'm trying to make it not useless. I choose to do this. I'm not trying to justify my financial investment in the thing and salvage that or anything. It's the map is inspiring, and I want to make it work. And I like as I've already said, blah 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 blah. I want to have more of a kind of strategic side hustle going on, and in association with the tactical battles that I typically do, to bring more meaning to the tactical battles, kind of link them together, do a kind of campaign thing. This seemed like the easiest way to do it. Arguably, I got a little work to do to make it work, but no, could be cool. Could be cool. Yeah, it gets stuffy. It gets stuffy for sure. Library is a crazy place. That place I work at, it's a very crazy place. Um, there's some interesting people that come in there. I guess I'm not allowed to say anything about them, but use your imagination. It gets, and there's no limits. When I say use your imagination, there's no limit to what goes. What was the most recent thing that happened? This was 2-3 weeks ago. There was a guy. I didn't see the initial part of it. It's always somebody being asked to leave, right? And it's so easy to be there. It's so easy to be at this library. There's so many rules we overlook, first of all. And there's only like 3 or 4 fundamental rules you have to follow to be in the building. You have to be clothed. You can't sleep. You can't eat. Those don't seem like too hard of a thing to do, but you'd be surprised, right? So it's always with somebody who refuses to follow the rules, and then I work there of such a capacity. I have to remind someone of the rules. That's my job. It's part of my job. Hey, guess what? You're not allowed to do that here. Really? Since when? Since forever. This is not a new thing. You've never been able to do that in here. Okay. I don't say it like that, but it's frustrating. So it's always the person that's like told to, he's got to leave, right? Because he knows what he's doing is not the right thing to do. So you just got to go. And there's levels of that. It's like you got to go for the day, or you've done something so awful, we're gonna ban you for a week or 2 weeks or a month or forever, depending. Usually it's like you got to go for the day. You can come back tomorrow. We'll act like nothing happened. We'll start over. But for today, let's just call it a day. You got to go. So there's things like that, and it's always the dude that is asked to leave, and for whatever reason, they feel like you're personally attacking them. Like it's not the rule breaking issue. It's the fact that you told this person. I don't know what it is. It's like their ego, or they feel like they're being personally attacked, and they freak out. And it's like eruptions. It's like, you can't sleep in here, and then it's like, well, I wasn't sleeping, so then it's an argument. And there's ways to deal with that, de-escalation, keeping your voice lower than their voice, all that stuff. That thousands of webinars we watch on how to do this. But sometimes it just doesn't matter what you do, and they just want to. And there's people that are like that. They gain some sort of accomplishment for that day, having argued about something. They feel like they've done something that day. I guess they've afforded themselves some sort of sense of purpose because they had this thing to argue about, right? So it's a big confrontation, and they got to go. So anyway, that's a long introduction to what I was trying to tell you. So anyway, there's this guy, and I missed why he was asked to leave, but he was asked to leave, and he took it personally, and it's like, hell with this place, and I'm putting it nicely. You use your imagination, and F that, and F you, and F this, and then y'all don't, and blah 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 blah, and as loud as can be, and screaming, and he leaves, right? Not happy, but he left. Well, I didn't see it because I was in the particular area, the center of the library, where I couldn't see into the lobby, and then to the right, there's the entrance doors on the right and the left. So I could see was straight into the lobby. I can't see to the right. I can't see to the left. So apparently this guy comes back, and I see one of my coworkers go running as fast as he can run from that hot station area up the stairs to get our boss. And so obviously it's like, something's going on. And I don't know at what point I heard this or where I heard this, but apparently the guy had come back with a machete. And I'm watching in the lobby, And we've got at any given day we have 2 or 3 security guards in that place for a library, and you'll understand why when I'm done with this. So this guy comes back with a machete or a knife or something, and I watch the security guard draw his sidearm and aim it chest level at the doors and pull the slide back, and I'm waiting for the shot. Now, when that happens, I drop to the floor because I don't want to catch a bullet. I don't know what the guy's got. This is the second time I've had to drop to the floor because of firearms in this library since I've worked there. I don't hear the shot, so I peek my head up over the circulation desk, and I don't see the guard anymore. So I'm thinking, well, I guess the situation resolved itself, and well, I suppose it did because nothing ever became of it. Boss comes down, call 911. Absolutely glad to. So I call 911, and 911's always fun because it never seemed to. And I guess you can't. You can't seem concerned if you're a 911 operator because it doesn't help anything, and they've heard it all before. But I mean, honestly, it's like 911. What's your emergency? And it's like, well, there's a guy here with a machete, and the security guard just pulled his sidearm on him but didn't fire. Is anyone hurt? No, not yet. What's your name? And what position do you hold? I'm like, some of these things, I'm wondering how they're so irrelevant to what's going on. It's like, what does it matter what my position is? Just get somebody down here, and on and on. What's the description of the guy? And does he have any other weapons? And it's like, I don't know. I don't know if he has. Maybe, all this stuff. And okay, hang on. We'll have somebody there. Nobody ever shows up because they know. The police know with this library, there's always something going on there. And it usually never becomes anything because they're familiar with the clientele that comes there, the patrons, as we call them. They know that a lot of these people have mental issues and are, for the most part, harmless. You don't have to worry about them. They're more scared of us than we are of them. And yeah, so the guy ran off down the street and all that. And again, at least while I was there, I can't remember the cops ever coming and showing up. That's usually the case with the police here. The response time is horrible if they just show up at all. Like I had an issue, again, library related, and this dude was outside of work, and this guy recognized me, and it was somebody that I had told I had to leave, and he had a problem with that. So then he had a problem with me, and then he saw me out on the street one day and crossed the street and came at me and got in my face, and I just kept walking. And so I called the police, and I'm like, I guess I got to get a restraining order or file a report on this guy or something because now I'm having problems with him outside of work. They showed up a day later. I mean, whatever. But I called him on like a Wednesday, and then early Thursday evening, a cop comes by and he's like, "So what's going on?" I'm like, "Yeah, what's going on?" So it's fun times at the library. And again, that's the first time some dude had come into the library and he was looking all shifty. And I know you're not supposed to profile anybody, but you can tell when something's up. And the guy's obviously not there for the books, and he's looking around. I'm like, okay, something's going on. And this goes on for like 4 or 5 minutes, and the guy's looking around. And then we see cops come in, and then the dude who's looking around sees the cops, and he tries to circumvent the police. And I guess they finally see him. What is that? And where are you going, man? That's what they said to him. Like, where are you going? And he starts to try and run, and they have to tackle him down to the ground. And then somebody, I don't know if it was the cop or a patron or somebody's like, well, he's got a gun. So he dropped to the floor, and the cops are tackling this guy and trying to handcuff him. And, why are you running? And then take him away. Nobody's told anything. They just took him away. We're not informed, and I don't expect to be either, but no idea what that was about. But no, I don't know what he did. Don't know. They got him though. Came in and got him, and that was the first time I had to drop to the ground because of firearms in the library. What a mess. The place is a wreck. I can go on and on. Trust me, I could go on and on. New Orleans always seemed like a pretty wide open place. Made a few trips there many years ago. We'll be glad you did, and I'll be the first to say, don't be in a hurry to come back until things get better. It's a mess here, dude. You can come to New Orleans, but nowhere to go. And unfortunately, I wouldn't recommend going to the French Quarter, which is where most people want to go. But I'll be honest with you, I don't know why. French Quarter is a tourist trap. I'll argue there's no real history there anymore. I mean, you can look at the buildings and what used to go on there as history, but they have laws where you can't update buildings such that it would change the way they look, which presents issues because a lot of these buildings need desperate attention as far as structural acknowledgement. And I guess there's ways of doing it. But anyway, it's almost unaffordable for anybody to remodel these places because there's all this historical red tape you got to go through to maintain the historicity of the building. Otherwise, none of y'all tourists want to come down here and look at these stupid buildings. So they want to keep all that stuff looking, historic. But the only thing that takes place in the French Quarter is nonsense. It's complete nonsense, and especially at night. I mean, if you got to go to the French Quarter, at least don't go at night. You're just asking for trouble. You're going to get something's going to happen, dude. And even you could say, well, I'll mind my own business, and nobody's. Yeah, you do that. You mind your own business, but there's still a such thing as stray bullets, etc. And you think I'm making this up, but I'm not. And the mayor will never admit the extent of the problems that are going on because she's smart. She knows she doesn't want to scare the tourists off because that's our big industry here is tourism. And you tell them it's not safe to come here, guess what? Nobody's going to come here. New Orleans is going to fall off the map financially. So she can't say anything. But it's not safe, y'all. If anybody that plans on coming here, hit me up through this channel and I'll let you know what places are worth going to, what's worth your time, what's safe, what's not. I mean, you use your own judgment, but I can at least give you a heads up as like if you're going to do that, have your head on a swivel, stuff like that, There's all kinds of places that people that aren't from here don't realize is worth going to. I've said this before. Somebody comes to New Orleans, they hit Bourbon Street, they get a stupid hurricane or a hand grenade drink, and they go to a strip club and they go to some other stupid bar, and they're like, okay, I saw New Orleans. That is not New Orleans. That's farthest from it. You think it's New Orleans because that's what you're being spoon-fed as New Orleans. It's nothing to do with New Orleans. Not anymore. Maybe at one time, not anymore. There's my New Orleans rant. I live here, and I'll tell you, I'll be the first to say it. It's not safe here. I don't feel safe anywhere, to be honest with you, living in this city. There is no safe spot in the city. I'm just being honest. There's no safe place in New Orleans. You say, well, move to a safer place. There isn't one. There isn't one. Carjackings here are through the roof. Shootings, gangs. It's just nuts here. It's like the Wild West, and they say that, and they say it as like a badge of honor. It's like the Wild West down here. And I guess that's appealing to some people. I guess I could see the appeal of going somewhere where it's completely chaotic. You don't know what the hell's going to happen. I guess there's excitement there, right? I guess. I don't know. That said, it is New Orleans does have its beauty here, its own particular kind of beauty. But it's no joke here for sure. For sure. From being from St. Louis, I'll say that it's not much better there either. So I'm kind of screwed. I think, well, I can move back home. Well, even though I don't live where I'm from, isn't like inner city St. Louis. I'd argue city of St. Louis isn't much better than New Orleans. They're probably two of the worst places you can go to right now. Well, that's uplifting conversation, huh? For a live spout about an hour in. Is there anything else? I feel like I've got the floor here. It doesn't have to be that way. Anything else? I'll give you guys a few seconds. I'm still on the big Indian food kick. Was doing that once a week, and I had to cut it down to every other week. It's just getting too expensive. And you could say go to a cheaper place, but no, this place is the place. It's so good. So spicy, so good. It's the best. So there's that. Let me think. Anything else? I still need to clean out a lot of stuff. I've said I've thrown out. I shouldn't say thrown out. Sold. Feels like I threw it out. Went so fast. Sold about half of the cardboard. Unloaded about half of it. But I still have a ton of stuff that never gets used. I've got all this Flames of War stuff, and that's just some of it. Well, you can't see it, but it just sits there. What do you do with it? And it's like, well, you could sell it, but then half of it's metal, and the shipping on that stuff's going to be ridiculous. It's like, then you got to bring the price down for what you're selling just to cover, because nobody wants to pay what it's worth and a high price for shipping for that. So there's a ton of. Sometimes I just feel claustrophobic in here, but I guess it's a good problem to have. I guess that's it. We're done. All right. Any thoughts on the GMT reprint of Pacific War? I have a copy, but I just opened it to look at it. No, not really. The only reprint I'm aware of was, wasn't that from like a year or 2 or 3 ago or more? Pacific. Now, I had the original Pacific War game inherited from my brother. He played it. I never heard any complaints from him about it. Yeah, a couple years ago. And I don't know anything about the reprint. I assume it fixes, streamlines, etc. Any potential issues the original edition had. Probably modernizes and prettifies maps. And yeah, I'm looking at the map of the reprint. That's a nice, modern, pretty version compared to the original. So, but as far as gameplay, I couldn't tell you. I'm sure there's tons of, well, not tons, but I'm sure there's YouTube videos out there about it. I guess you could ask about reprints in general. Are they necessary? I don't think they're all necessary. No, I think a lot of it is companies trying to reap profits, and hats off to them. That's part of being a company, to make money. Maybe there's 1 or 2 companies out there trying to be nice and put something back out in print that hasn't been in print. But no, I don't think everything needs to be reprinted. I think there for a while, there was a big reprint frenzy going on, which, again, you could argue it's a good thing or not. But I don't think it's all warranted necessarily. And don't be fooled by a reprint. That is to say, when something is reprinted, don't let that automatically make you think that the version that is being replaced is not worth playing or owning. That is improper logic, my friend. A lot of these old games, first edition games, are still just as good as they were when they came out. Does that make sense? They play just as fine. You don't necessarily need the new shiny version, okay? Like you want to think you do. And maybe you see an unboxing video and somebody's got the new shiny, and it's like, well, I don't have that. And then it's like, well, then you feel left out. But I mean, honestly, 9 times out of 10, the original version is just fine. I mean, it just depends on what you're looking for, right? I mean, I'm looking at Hitler's War, Patton's Best. Although, honestly, reprint of Patton's Best could be interesting. But the original is just fine. I've played it umpteen times. It's a blast. I guess my point is there's a lot of old stuff out there that just because it's old and may look a little funny compared to the standards we have nowadays, it's still tons of fun. A lot of these games, just as fun. So don't be fooled by the reprint bandwagon, or be fooled, or let yourself dive in if you've got the disposable income to benefit from that, then nobody's the wiser. So then what about any mandatory reprints? Any reprints that are so? I guess if a game's broken, yeah, it's mandatory. What was that game? Oh my god, Mark McLaughlin, love the guy. He's the one that did War and Peace, old Avalon Hill game, a game that is near and dear to my heart. He's done a few games. In fact, he redid War and Peace. Not something I own. Not something I feel the need to own. War again, the original's just fine for me. But what was the game? Was it like? I'll tell you in a second. I'm looking it up. Hitler's Reich. Okay, now here you go. This is a game that was supposed to be a simple, easy, straightforward card game, right? The thing was broken. When he put it out, and he finally admitted it, it's broken. The thing, you can't play it. It's ridiculous. And they put out, how many fixes did they put out for a GMT? And people felt the need to post videos on how to play it. It's like, don't lose hope. Watch this video. You can still play all that stuff. Is a reprint warranted there? Absolutely. And would you want to get it? Well, if you want to be able to play the game, you're going to want to get the reprint. I don't know if they ever reprinted it, though. I think they just released like a patch for it, for lack of a better term. So yeah, there's instances where a reprint is absolutely necessary. Another thing that is kind of a bugbear with me is these so many, and GMT, I'll call them out in particular. There's a number of games, and they release update kits, and I'm happy they do that. That's fine. But if you already own the game, you shouldn't have to pay extra for an update kit. That's just my personal feeling on it. Or, I know you can't do this in every circumstance, but maybe don't release the game yet if it's not ready to be released. If you're going to release something and then 6 months later put out an update kit, maybe wait 6 months to release it, so you don't have to put out an update kit that we have to pay separately for. That's always irritated me. If I paid money and already own the game, send me the update kit for free. Otherwise, you're going to irritate me. I don't know how everything's turned into a rant on this, rant on that. Another case in point, the ASL stuff being reprinted is appreciated, and most of us know how unrealistic and unfair the prices people are fetching for out-of-print ASL stuff. And then I understand the argument, hey, if somebody's going to pay for it, don't knock me for asking that price. And I understand. But it's just not fair for somebody who is trying to get something and their only option is to get it off of eBay, and they're going to get screwed. So yeah, hats off to MMP for doing that. And again, I mentioned earlier what Armies of Oblivion, something that was out of print, something you're going to pay way more than you need to for, and the lovely folks at MMP are reprinting it so an affordable copy can be had. Yeah, that's awesome. Keith, how you doing? Welcome. I'm ranting and trying to keep the conversation rolling. Warm greetings from Belfast. Awesome. Well, I appreciate your comments, Keith. And thank you for viewing my content. I can't always say that, at least these days, the variety of content is such that it ticks the boxes of everyone. In fact, you could say that I'm only ticking one box these days with the Napoleonic thing. It's always, I don't know, guys. It's always seems to always be either Napoleonic something in one form or another, and at the most something miniatures. I try and vary it from time to time. I've thrown in some ASL stuff here and there, but I don't know why. That's really where my heart's at. This channel used to be a little bit more diversified as far as content. And I guess I don't know. I'll be honest with you. Sometimes I wonder if I even like what I do. Seriously, you do something enough for so long, you start to forget why you're doing it sometimes. And went through a bit of a self-questioning. I don't know if I'd go so far as to say existential crisis, but a self kind of analysis type deal of, why am I doing this again, and why do I do this? And kind of had to step back for a second, and I don't know that I came up with an answer, so I just got plowing forward. I guess it's just what I do. I don't know. I feel like I'm doing something rather than just sitting watching TV, because if I wasn't doing this, my interests aren't as varied as to what they used to be. I mean, if it's not this stuff, I'm watching TV, and I don't want to do that all the time, so I guess I do this. I guess I could read. I don't read anymore like I used to. This is a rule book, or I used to write. I used to write fiction, plays, philosophy. The only thing I write anymore is rule books, and I will run through the same damn rule book in 15 different ways. I'll write the same rule book 15 different ways, 15 versions of it, and feel like I don't know, feel like I'm doing something. It's crazy. It's crazy. But I guess I wouldn't do it if I didn't like it, right? I think this October will be 10 years having done this channel. I never thought I would have done this for 10 years. And a couple other people might be able to second that are no longer with me. Probably, hopefully thought that this whole thing was a fad and I would move on and do things that they also enjoyed. It never happened. I'm sorry. Or I'm not sorry. But 10 years, man, going through, again, started out as a podcast, and then finally got brave enough to actually play some things in front of a camera. Ran through the whole short-lived game company years, self-publishing, self-designing, self-publishing, self-distributing, until we got to the advanced platoon leader phase of things, and I almost had a nervous breakdown trying to finish that game, polish it. And we even went through a full-blown distributor for the boxes. We had farmed out a guy from Germany he found us, and I forget your name. I don't know if he still even watches this channel. He lived in Germany. He did some of the cover art, I think, and he did a lot of the map stuff and counter art, polishing things up. And I mean, we went all out for this advanced platoon leader game, the penultimate release. I think I had one more in me after that. Probably just residual momentum that was left over more than anything. But that was the apex of H&S Games, was that game, and I still have one copy left of it. The box is just beautiful. It came out beautiful, the artwork, and I love the gameplay. And I had always said, and I will continue to say, it's a game that I enjoyed playing, and so I wanted to share it. It's not just something I did to make money, although I did make money, but not a lot, but enough to make it worth my while. And then had the Facebook page for a long time, and that was a weird experience, running that Hexes and Soldiers Facebook page. I don't know if anybody knew or realized or cared that it linked to this channel, this YouTube channel. And if I put random content up there, I'd get like likes and thumbs and comments and like, hey, there's this new game coming, or here's what I think about that, and blah, blah, blah. But as soon as I did something related to this channel, it's like it was just crickets. Nobody cared or wanted to hear anything. I never understood that. It's really weird. There were a couple of times I posted on there something fairly important, and it's like I had like over 1,500 followers or whatever for that channel, and it's like nobody had anything to say, and I'm like, well, what the hell, And I eventually just stopped the thing, and not out of frustration with people's response so much, because I understand people can be fickle, and I am one as well. But that just became a thing that I was doing. It wasn't fun anymore. So I killed the Facebook page. I had a blog, and I killed that. So this is all that's left, I guess, is the moral of the story. 10 years on, and I'm still doing the YouTube page. And for those of you that have been around since day one, you can see how it's evolved. Hey, Eric, how you doing, buddy? But so, yeah, there's that. I don't know how this stuff is interesting. I feel like you guys would be better entertained if I was answering direct questions that you had. Maybe it's not interesting. Anyway, Eric's Table has joined us. For those of you unfamiliar with his table, his channel, check it out. He does a lot of cool stuff. Eric, I had mentioned this at the end of a video that I think it was that video that YouTube killed because I had something streaming in the background from YouTube, but they decided that was a copyright violation, which I never argued, and I should. I was streaming Waterloo in the background of a game on TV, and it was streaming from a YouTube channel, and I got a copyright strike, and I should have argued this, but I didn't. It's like you can't show copyright. Well, it's coming from YouTube. I'm not showing copyrighted content. I'm showing something from another YouTube channel that is on YouTube. Anyway, at the end of that video, I replied to and don't think I forgot. I replied to your invitation to, you had mentioned doing something together game-wise. But, yeah, no, I'm all for that. When, what, I don't know. But I hear you. I'm flattered that you're interested in something along those lines. We should touch Indians and see what that consists of. And again, what, to what extent, where, when, all that stuff, and figure something out. I don't know how, because I'm an idiot, to film something or stream something. I think if we did do something, it would be cool to share it somehow. So maybe you'd be able to cover that end. I guess there's StreamYard. I could download that. But anyway, you seem to do better with the streaming, hosting end of things. So yeah, all right. She's going to share his email. We'll work that out. So. Also, I noticed, and this is more, I guess, for Eric. I noticed Wardrobe. Are you familiar with this gentleman? He goes way back. He's another old school. He's been doing some Napoleonic stuff, a la Hex Encounter. I don't know if you've caught that or not. I told him, I said, you go down this Napoleonic hole, you're going to be lost forever. And he did admit that he's delved into some other stuff. I think he's been watching Sharps, whatever the hell show that is. Sharps something or other. Sharps Rifles. I don't know. I tried to watch that show. I couldn't do it. It was too hokey for me. So, Eric, what do you do when, and I guess I could pose this to everybody. Eric, what do you like to do when you're not gaming, when you're not on? What other stuff do you take solace in? Do you pet hamsters to as your pastime when you're not gaming? Got to be a Sean Bean fan. Well, okay, fair enough. Maybe I'm not a Sean Bean fan. That could very well be Sean Bean. Another thing, I read and watch other YouTube. What are you reading, Eric, right now? I know, if I'm being too personal, you don't have to answer, but I'm just curious what other folks are doing. But I'll mention while Eric prepares his answer. Make sure it's the right answer. You're doing this for a while. You notice the evolution of other channels more so than your own. Swords Around a Throne. I'm going to look that up when I'm done with this, whatever the hell I'm trying to say. And there's been a couple, and I mentioned this in the past, there's been a couple of channels I had to unsubscribe from. It just wasn't doing it for me anymore. I know that's probably rude, but I wasn't watching anyway. And I only got irritated when I got notifications that they had something new up. I'm not going to say who, but there were at least 2, maybe 3 channels I had followed for a long time, but it got to where it's like, what has become of this channel? What am I watching anymore? It's like, it's, if I get too descriptive, I might give something away, and I don't want to offend anybody. But again, the point is, it's interesting watching how channels have evolved. Other channels, some have gotten went way off left field. Others have. One that's interesting that I will point out, and this is not a knock at all. This is in fact an applaud. Is and I just drew a blank. The Chief, he goes by the Chief, and he used to do war game reviews with a couple other gentlemen. Was a big hit. Does that mean anything to anybody? I can't think of anything else. He has a channel, but he used to be just all about hardcore Hex Encounter bookshelf games. But now you can definitely tell, it's not a coincidence, he's turned a corner towards RPG stuff. And why I think that is applaudable is because a lot of people, I think, are afraid. So you start a channel, you've done a thing for a year or two, and you think, well, this is what people have subscribed to see. They're not going to watch the channel if I do something different. It takes a certain amount of bravery to share a new interest and roll with it. And again, I think that's cool that he's done that with this RPG stuff. Again, not all of it's something that is in my wheelhouse, but I like that he likes it, and I like that he's not afraid to share it. That's very cool. And I think some of us could learn from that. I mean, it is, after all, your channel, and you shouldn't feel obligated to just placate. And people are going to see through that, right? They're going to see through that and notice that you're just placating them. And then, as opposed to where your real passion is, right? So maybe it's something they're slightly less interested in, but they're going to feed off of your sincere passion of the thing you really want to be doing. So I thought I'd throw that out there. So Eric says, Swords Around a Throne. I'm unfamiliar with this beast. Napoleonic stuff, of course. I thought maybe fantasy. No, Swords Around a Throne, Napoleon's Grand Army. Military professional and historian John R. Elting paints an exciting, detailed picture of the magnificent human fighting force, Napoleon's Grande Armée. Colorfully details every facet of life in Napoleon's army, including rations, pay, mud and disease, mobile hospitals, loot, campfires, and more. You know what this reminds me of? I'm going to have to leave the camera for a second, but that reminds me of this. Whoop, well, I'll grab this one back. Hang on to your butts. All right. Now, I will not profess to be a connoisseur or aficionado of Napoleonic literature, of which there's no shortage of, but I will say that, again, what you mentioned reminds me of this book by Georges Bland, Le Grand Armée. And it's all that, you could argue it's dry, but it's all of the behind-the-scenes stuff of what went into the Grand Armée and how it functioned, and all the stuff that doesn't get talked about. Like, there's so many things that you would not even for a second consider that have to go into the function of a functional army, right? And this talks a lot about that. So that reminds me of, yeah. And then the other book that I grabbed is one of my all-time favorites, Dominic Levine's Russia Against Napoleon. Again, another book that if you can only own one book about the 1812 campaign, I would argue this is it. This is what you want. It's readable, but yet it's still scholarly. But not so scholarly that you can't enjoy what you're reading. And he also goes into the things that don't normally get considered when, revolving around an army and its campaign, and all the input that has to go into pulling that off. It's just, it's a wonder how it's able to be done at all, especially during that time. It's just amazing. I mean, you could argue that Germany rolling into Russia in the 40s was a feat, but I mean, come on. This was a hell of a feat. Many people watch because they like the hosts. I suppose they do. What is that? Pop up, pop down. It is not always the content. I suppose you're correct. Well, we're just rolling on here. That's an hour and a half now. I'll keep going as long as you guys want to keep going, but I feel like I'm either going to at some point either repeat myself or run out of things to say. So that's why the questions help. See, it's an interactive. It's what the heck? I don't know why I'm looking over there. The camera's up there, but it's like I feel weird looking up. I feel like I'm posing for one of those stupid high school where they make you put this hand on this leg for your high school. Why? Why do you have to? Why does every person have to sit like that? Please put your hand. I digress. I'm looking around for topics here, and it should be no shortage of topics, but we could start an argument. What do you guys? Berezina is another historical occurrence that fascinates me. There's a couple of games on it. I had the Against the Odds game on Berezina. I guess the theme of today is broken games, but that's another game that I couldn't get to function right out of the gate. Something wrong with it. Maybe there's something wrong with me. But yeah, Berezina for real. So Alexander McCaberidze. Berezina, horrible spelling. Oh, look, there's a YouTube video on that chap, Alexander McCaberidze. 11 minutes, 25 second video on the Battle of Berezina. Is that one of the Osprey books? Is that what you're reading? No, it looks like an Osprey book. Is it the Berezina 1812 Napoleon's Hollow Victory from the campaign series 383? Is that? It doesn't matter. I get your drift. I mean, we could delve into kind of a, I don't know if you can call it an argument, but what would be the for those of you that don't mess with miniatures, why is that? I'm just trying to start off a topic here. And I would think that each of you have your own specific reason. I mean, and for those of us that do play miniatures, why would we not, or why would we not more often head the board game route? You know, I mean, I came into this strictly board games, and I felt like with miniatures, it was just too. There was a kind of like I don't know if it was an embarrassment thing or a guilt thing, but it felt too much like a 5-year-old playing with his little toys. So right with the with the board games, you know, everything seems a little more complicated and respectable, and not everybody can comprehend it and understand it and do it. And it's not a toy or a game because look at the rule book and all the stuff you got to know and blah blah blah. I don't know if anybody actually feels that way or not. I know another aspect that is a turnoff for miniatures is painting the damn things. I whined, and so I had all these 28 millimeter French and British that I bought. glued them together, primed them, and there they sat for probably 2 years. And I would pass by them and just look at the pile of shame. When are you going to paint those things? I skirted around the issue and skirted around. I even asked, I can't think today. He has his own channel. Filthy Pagan, that guy. I'm sorry, dude. I even contacted him. I'm like, look, dude, what would you charge to paint these damn things? I have them. What's the point of it? So, and I guess there's a kind of a pressure to paint the things because of the community too. It's like people just scoff at you if you have unpainted miniatures on the table, like with the Warlord stuff. You don't know how many people think that's hilarious that I have that, and I must be uncommitted or whatever because I don't care. I put them on the table and play them, and they play just fine. I don't need to paint those damn things, and I won't. But I feel like there's a pressure from the community to, like, they almost look down on you if you don't have anything painted. Like these guys here they look fine. They don't need to be painted. But anyway, I was even going to have this dude paint them for me, and of course, bless his heart, he's got to make a living. So it was a little more than I wanted to pay. And I tried to paint a few of them. You know what saved me? You know what salvaged me with the painting the 28 millimeter Napoleonic stuff? The wash. Because until I learned to use the wash properly, no matter how I painted them, they looked like crap. They looked like crap. It never looked right. And then one day I'm like, okay, what's this wash business? And I put a wash on them. I'm like, holy crap. It looks like they're supposed to look for the first time. It's got like, there's just this, I don't know how to describe it. When they're not washed, they look too, the colors are too contrasty. They're too, there's too much of a stark there's no, I can't describe it. But you put a wash on, it like blends everything together. It's like completes, I don't know. It was brilliant. And so there I went. And for like the next 6 months, I went nuts and painted like over 1,000 of these guys. I painted them all. And enough to field a battle on the table. I've got dragoons and line units and light infantry and heavy cavalry and the Scots Greys. I did it all. But I never want to do it again. I did it because I wanted to pay my dues and suffer through having done it and know that I could do it. But I didn't enjoy it, really. I mean, there may have been moments where I'm like, okay, this isn't so bad. And the end result is fantastic. Look what I did. But sitting there painting these damn things, I don't think I can do that to myself ever again. So I can understand not getting into miniatures because of the painting thing. But don't feel like it's infantile or you're playing with toys, because there's some rule sets out there that are just as complicated, if not more so, for miniatures battles than the board games that abstractly represent miniatures. I guess I had that argument with myself. All right, thanks for listening. Ruben says, I never knew anyone growing up that was into miniatures. I started with board games, got out of gaming altogether for a bit, and just got back into it recently. I did. It was, and I kind of drug him into it. He would typically do what I did, so I think I love this memory. I love going back in my head, and this was back in the day when you could go to a brick and mortar store and they had product, physical product. Not, oh, we can order that. But meanwhile, here's some crappy no, they had stuff. And they had all the Dungeons and Dragons stuff. And they had it displayed so awesome. Like, even if you didn't like the stuff, they're like, holy crap, I got to buy all this because look at it. It's awesome. They had everything. And they had and I had to drive like an hour to the store. And I had just started driving. So I must have been, I guess, 16, right? And I snuck a drive to St. Louis. And this was before the phone telling you where to go. So I was like completely on the verge of getting lost, but made it there. It was on Page Boulevard in downtown St. Louis. And I'll never remember the name of the store, but it was awesome. You walk in there and you just lost yourself in your surroundings. And I had noticed on the wall, and I don't know why this appealed to me, but it was these little little packages, like blister packs of lead Napoleonic figures. And I thought, I'm going to get a bunch of those. Well, what are you going to do with? I don't know. But I was in one of those moods that day. I'm like, I'm going to get a bunch of those, and I grabbed them. And my friend had come over, and I'm like, look what I got. And it'd be, let's do something with them. Okay, well, let's paint them up. And he always had to do everything better than I did. So he would paint his up, and they would look amazing. Just like, oh, my God, like they should be in a museum. And I'm like, you jerk. And then that would inspire me to want. I don't know. Those got lost in some family sale. When I moved out, there was a bunch of stuff under the house. And I was in one of my phases where I didn't need things. I was in like a non-material phase. I'm like, I don't want stuff. So anything you've pulled out under the house that was mine, sell it in whatever sale you're going to do. But I regret that because I'd like to go back and at least just look at those guys and to see to what progress I made on them, and what, I don't even remember what brand or company those were, but that was awesome. Those were the days. I'm serious. You could go there. There was another store by the airport, and they had all the board game stuff. And I think I bought Avalon Hill's D-Day in there. It was just, it was all set up so cool. You could pick it up and look at it. Like, there it is. It wasn't like in a catalog or. Like, it was awesome. Those were the days. I'm not saying those days were better, but those are great memories. I mean, you can order anything you want now at the drop of a hat and have it in a couple of days, but still. Ruben says, plus I hate painting. Yeah, so miniatures is really two hobbies, the wargaming and the painting. And definitely, there are those that are in it. You can tell. They're just in it for the painting. And it's look what I'm painting, look what I'm going to paint, look what I painted. Never see them play. And I talked about this earlier. But you never see them play anything. That's fine. They don't have to. That's their thing. They want to paint, they paint. It's its own thing. It's its own hobby. And everybody shares what they painted and look what I painted. And I mean, I guess I'm a little jealous, but I don't have it in me to do it. I wish I would perfectly allow somebody to paint stuff for me, but I don't have it in me. And then there's a few out there that I'll notice they painted the stuff and they're playing it, but mostly I notice it's like, look what I painted. But are you going to play it? No. Just painted it. Okay. Like to see it on the table? No. Just painted it. Okay. Eric says, I painted lots of miniatures for D&D. There's another story. You remember B. Dalton? I think it was B. Dalton books in the mall. There for a while when you can go to a bookstore in the mall and they had the Dungeons and Dragons stuff because it was selling pretty good. But they also had the miniatures. I think that was in the days of Raoul Partha miniatures, among other things. I had a number of those guys. I was so young. I had the core. Oh, it's like first edition, second. I don't freaking know. Then Dungeons and Dragons books. I didn't even know how to use them. I'd make up stuff and use the books for inspiration. And I thought, I need these miniatures, guys, because can't play it right without them. Got to have them. And they had one that came in like a. I might be losing. I'm sorry, guys, if this is boring. I'm losing it. But I remember one came in a beautifully illustrated box. And I never painted them. I wouldn't know the first thing to do about painting them. I don't know if Dragon magazine, you could go to the bookstore and get that. Just nostalgia. Too much nostalgia. Nostalgia is a good marketing ploy too. It gets you to buy stuff. Like, oh, I used to have that, so I got to have it again. No, you don't. Memories are good enough. And then also Eric says, way back I had collected professionally painted Napoleonic miniatures. 70 millimeter, for God's sakes. What kind of table do you field 70 millimeter Napoleonic dudes on? Backyard? Are you kidding me? I guess these are like one-off things, right? You wouldn't buy like an army of these and paint them. Just like display statue type stuff, right? My God, that's huge. But that's cool. That's very cool. What about game conventions? You guys been to, plan on going? Currently at one? Yeah, single figure. Not fielding an army of 70mm stuff. I've only been to one game convention. That was here in New Orleans. I had just moved here. This is a story I've told before. I don't even remember the name of it. It was an annual thing. Boy, that sucks. But it was held at the World War II Museum, which is a very cool place to have a game convention. And there was a dude there that was running Eric Butterfield's Bulge game that he was developing or had just developed for iOS, so like iPad and iPhone. I still have that game on my iPhone, by the way. Shenandoah Games, that short-lived company he had, they did 2 or 3 games, at least 3, with a planned 4th that never came to fruition. There was a dude there running a paper, like physical counters and things of that game, and I was fascinated by it. It was so awesome. I ended up having lunch with this guy. We hit it off pretty good. He didn't live here. We might have hung out more, but he was nice enough to let me, I think, make a copy of that. Or did he? I don't remember correctly. But I was so taken by that setup in that game. I did end up contacting, and hopefully he don't get mad at me for saying this, I did end up contacting Eric himself, Eric Butterfield, the man, and said, hey, back in the day you had this thing you had been developing and working on. Do you have any original playtest components laying around for that? Because I'd happily compensate you for them in kind and whatnot. Never thought I'd hear from him, but he said, yeah, he responded and said, yeah, he had something. In fact, he had one of the original playtest playbooks, rule books in an actual, it was smaller, but an actual map. So as soon as he sent that stuff, and I am forever in your debt, Mr. Butterfield, for doing that. You didn't have to do that. That was awesome, and it really made my day to get that stuff, and I had a lot of fun with it. But first thing I did was take it to FedEx Kinko's and blew the map up real big, and that was so exciting. Took it home, and I big copies of all the counters and play. It's awesome. I still think about that game, and like I should drag that back out, but that's one of my favorite games. But that came from a convention. I don't even know if I would have known that was something that would have been attainable had I not been there. And then the dude that I had become friends with, we, after the convention was over, we walked around the museum and looked at stuff and shared stories and points of view about World War II, and it was a great day. But that was the last time they did it. And that sucked because, like, okay, I live here now. We can do this every year. But no, that was the last year they did it. Eric says he usually goes to Consim Expo in Tempe, Arizona. I think I've seen some videos of you there, Eric. You seem to be having a blast, as you should and as you deserve. Ruben says his first gaming event was Winter Offensive this year. Well, really? Always thought that would be cool to do. And how was it? Was it what you expected? Was it a little less earth-shattering? Were there more people, less people there than you thought would be? That's still very cool, regardless of what you expected and the outcome. That's still got to be a head trip to go to that, an actual Winter Offensive. That's very cool. And I'm assuming you played, right? You say you just wanted to see what it was all about, but certainly you sat down and had to go with someone in some respect, ASLSK or whatever. That's very cool, Ruben. Very cool indeed. So, yep, there's that. Maybe it would be cool to go to Gen Con once. That's what the granddaddy of them all. Just once before I die, something like that. So another stupid question I'll throw out here. I haven't run out of steam yet. Go figure. What has been some family members' response to what you guys do? Girlfriends, wives, brothers, sisters. Do they just like brush it off as like, oh, that's that thing he does? That's that cardboard game hobby thing? Or do you have people that actually folks that are actually interested in it want to play it with you? Or is it, I guess the kids these days, they still like Magic the Gathering. That's still going strong. I've tried a few times to wrap my head around that, and I guess I didn't try hard enough. I didn't get it. I understand. My glasses are fogging up. Oh, stupid glasses. Ruben's first gaming event was Winter Offensive. Thought the crowd was good. Did play, okay, cool. You did play some face-to-face games. I mean, you would kick yourself if you went and didn't, right? Maybe because you were too shy. But I mean, you're there, you got to do it. Did not compete in a tourney. I wouldn't either. I wouldn't last 5 minutes in an ASL tournament. A lot of M&P Civil War game being played there, maybe because there was something new coming out. Sometimes they have the new shiny there to be oohed and awed over and play tested. So that might be what was going on there with the Civil War stuff. So that's cool, Ruben. All right, guys. I'll give 1 or 2 minutes for any last closing remarks, and then I think I have run out of steam. But that's cool talking to you guys. Try and do this every so often. Final remarks. Speak now, forever hold your peace. Forever now hold your pieces. Any cat disaster stories with games? My cat and I. All right, Eric. Thanks for dropping by. I'll be heading out myself soon. I'll lock up when I leave, okay? Met a few folks who played on Vassal. Yeah, that is cool. Cat disaster stories. Yeah, I don't have any. I've had this cat since she was a kitten, and cats are smart. They learn that there are areas that are not fun to go to. So this table, she learned, is not fun to be on, because when she's on it in the past, there's a loud clap or noises or something that is not conducive to cat tranquility. Something disturbing happens. So she learned early on that getting on there was not worth her while. So she stopped doing it. Plus, it's fairly high up. It's quite and she's small. She was a runt. So admittedly, there's that too. It is fairly high up, and it's not something, for whatever reason, that she just is inclined to jump on. So there's that reason. All right, Ruben. But yeah. So I guess I'm lucky in that respect, because I can have pretty much anything set up and she doesn't mess with it. All right, y'all. That's it. We'll talk next time. Everybody stay safe. Thanks for engaging. And all right. Bye.